Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in seeing more of my videos, please click on the like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That would help me out. What I want to do today is talk with you and share with you a little bit about my orchid nursery. And these are plants that I deflasked a while ago and that are about ready to go outside and be acclimated to the conditions that we have here in Southwest Florida. So right now there's a tropical storm right over us or heading our way, and I think the orchids are going to like this. It is just it's raining and it's warm, and this is what they like. But I'm in the laboratory right now. I'm in the culture room, and what I want to show you is the orchids in the various stages of being acclimated so that they can be taken under those conditions. And then I want to show you also what my orchid nursery looks like at my home. So I've got a lot of orchids that have already been placed outside that are getting rained on today. And the thing is, my orchid nursery area is filling up. Now I have these orchids in 2-inch pots, pretty small pots, and I've got a decent amount of space, but still the space is almost gone, so I need to figure out something to do with these. So what I'm going to do is get behind the camera and show you the acclimation process, where my orchids go for about a month, a little bit more, and then how they get slowly acclimated to the ambient humidity, which I don't think we need here anymore because it's so humid outside. But I still want to show you the plants and how they've been progressing over the acclimation process, which takes 1 to 2 months. So what I'm going to do is get behind the camera and show you some of the plants, starting with the early deflasking and then to the stuff that's ready to be, I think, placed outside under the very high humidity conditions that exist here. So, like I said, let me get behind the camera and show you how things look. Okay, I'm going to start out here with orchids that are still in the flask. So this is one of my flasks. I wasn't intending on showing you this, but you can see what this thing looks like, and there's some nice, fairly large orchids in this flask, in this bottle, and there's a nice root system. And so this is the starting material that I use. So I take these out, rinse all the medium off of the roots, and then plant them in the 2-inch pots that are in these containers. These orchids have been in these containers for about 2 weeks. So what I want to do is take the top, and this is the lids on the top of these containers. These are really nice containers. You don't need anything this nice if you're doing this at home, but this is what I use in the laboratory, even though I am transitioning to some less costly containers. But these, let me at least show you what the plants in here look like. And again, the lids are on because they're not quite ready to be exposed to the dry air, at least that is present in the laboratory. But let me show you, I say there's a certain time involved, but with all things orchid and plants, it's not really, time is a general rule, but it's more of how the plants look, and with orchids, more how the roots look, and then that will tell you whether these plants are ready to be acclimated. So let's go into the first container first, and I'll pull the lid off here. And these happen to be some dendrobiums here. And what I want you to look at is, and this is 2 weeks in this container, and so what I want you to look at is, even after 2 weeks, that's a new root right there. And you can see even the root initials that are on the middle on this plant. And this is what you look for as you're looking at your plants over time, is the amount of new root growth. So as we go back, there's another new root growing there. And again, this has only been a couple of weeks, so it hasn't been that long yet. I think there may be some other roots that you can see that are growing from these plants, but these are pretty big these are big dendrobiums that they were huge in the flask. And unfortunately, these are no ID dendrobiums. So, but still, they're pretty big. They've been in here for a couple of weeks. They look good. And there's some nice root growth coming out. Again, highlighting the root growth on this guy right there, and then right behind it, that's a new root right there. And there's some other ones in there that look the same way. So that gives you, again, an indication that these are doing well. You know, not all the orchids are putting out the new roots like that, but these are doing pretty well. Moving on to the next container, let me pull the lid off of this, and we can take a look in here. And this is a mixture of a few different things. So these are some encyclias that are in here, and just some of the other hybrid orchids that I made. But when you take a look at, I'm going to focus in on this plant right here. Those are all new roots that are growing out of that plant after 2 weeks, and that's a good sign. And that's what you want to see. But as you look at the other plants, you can see in the back there's some cattleyas. That's a new root right there. A lot of new roots growing off of that plant. But that's the kind of thing that you want to look for to think, okay, you're on the right track with with the deflasking and what you're doing now. Nothing's ready to go yet, but it is. It's on the way, and things look good, and that's how they should look. All right, moving on to the last one of these guys here. I'm going to show you another container here with, and this has a bunch of different. These are my Cattleya hybrids, and you can take a look at some of these plants, and you can see some of the new roots growing out on them. There's one there, and I think back here is pretty nice. Those are new roots growing out of that. And again, not all of them are doing this, but enough of them are. Another new root growing out there. Again, only after 2 weeks. So this is a good sign that things are progressing pretty nicely. So I'm going to put the lids back on these containers. And then I'm going to show you some plants that I think are closer to having the lids removed. These are at least 2 weeks away, but again, I let the orchids tell me when they are ready to be completely acclimated. And right now the lids are off and it's really dry in here, so I feel the need to put the lids back on. But we'll take a look at some other plants in a different part of the culture room that are a little bit further along. Okay, and now we're back, and these plants were deflasked and put in this container about a month ago. And some of these may be close to ready, and again, each plant will tell you a little bit of a different story, but what you can see if you look at the roots here, these are encyclias, but what you can see is all of the new roots that are growing on the top here of the potting mix. I guess this isn't really the best angle to take a look at this because the tags block the view so much. But anyway, from looking up top at the plants that are in the front, this plant doesn't have any roots on it, but look at this and this, this plant and this plant here, and that's a new root there. And so the root systems on these plants will tell you that it's ready. So this could maybe stay covered for another week or two. It's been a month, but they might be ready to go. This is another container with my hybrid cattleyas in here, and you can see maybe root growing out on that one. Not as much going on here. Maybe some new roots coming out here. Maybe that one right there. So these guys may not be as far along, so the Cattleyas may be a little bit slower. These are big plants, and there's some Certipodiums in the back, and I looked at those earlier, and there's nothing. I can't see really any of the roots coming out of the Certipodium, but the plants themselves look pretty good. So maybe, I don't know if I can get in on that, so maybe there's something there, but I don't think so. Anyway, so these things they're looking pretty good. I might let these sit in here for a little bit longer. And I should also show you, so this is another container. This is a really more economical container that I bought at Walmart that I may transition over to because they fit nicely in the shelves. These containers might be a little bit too tall for these shelves, and I don't think you need that additional headspace above, except for those dendrobiums that I showed you before. They're pretty tall already, even coming out of flasks. But anyway, I may or may not give these another week, or I may just try the encyclias because they look further along, and let the other ones sit here for a little bit longer. But I also want to end up with kind of a tour of my home nursery to kind of show you what that looks like and what the plants look like and what to look for with those plants and get new growth. Okay, so I'm going to take you to my home nursery and we'll start up again there. Okay, this is one shelf of my home nursery, so you can just get a general idea. And the space that I have at home is not too much, so I got to figure out what to do with all of the seedlings I'm generating. So this is one shelf, and all I've got is 4 shelves right now that I have my orchids on. This is underneath. This is the back of this is my shed. This is all underneath a bougainvillea, so as we're looking and recording, there may be some bougainvillea flowers that are going to fall on us because it's blowing. The wind is blowing a little bit back here too. But anyway, these are some of the plants that I have. You can see how they're doing. They're not, they're not great, but they're doing okay. These are some older encyclia seedlings that I generated, and these, of course, are pretty big. But these are some of the seedlings that I have generated in the lab a little bit more recently within the past few months. So those are those. Going up to the next shelf above it, those you can see right here. And these also are, again, it's the same type of thing. There's some dendrobiums here that are on the left that are pretty big, and actually this dendrobium back here is a seedling that wasn't even put in flask that long ago, but the dens seem to do really well for me here. So again, this to give you an idea of some of the seedlings that I have, just a real range of things. Most of these up here are the Cattleya crosses that I made, and they're tending to do pretty well. They're, as far as the root growth goes, they're okay, but they're not great, but they're doing well, and they're growing. Most of these plants are growing pretty nicely, so I'm happy with this overall. And again, what you can see over here, not well, that's another dendrobium seedling that I generated. So hopefully, it's pretty big, maybe a couple years old, so hopefully we'll get some blooms out of that soon. But again, you can see some of these plants, they look pretty good and they're doing okay, but I just don't have the space to grow all of these out, and I barely have the space to grow these if these will get a little bit bigger. One of the things I wanted to show to you, and it's not very much, but this is a Propagator boothiana, and I have a few of these in flasks in the laboratory, and this plant is tiny, and I understand that these plants are tiny, but I had a flask that got contaminated, so I had to pull this guy out early before it was ready. So it's a small plant, but it's outside. It's been outside for a month and it's doing well. It's not growing, but it's not dying either. So these things they're doing okay. And again, as slow as they grow, I just don't have the space. I want to show you the orchids that I have behind the shed, and there may be a little sunlight behind the shed, so we'll take a look at that. Normally these things get very low, so these get maybe a little bit of morning light, and the ones behind the shed that we'll go over to and take a look at, yeah, these are getting bathed right now in sun, but it's late enough in the day so that it's not a really strong sun. But here is, yeah, again, this is one that's been out here not for very long. That's encyclia. Most of these on this shelf are encyclias, but those are cattleyas, and they're doing, like I said, they're doing okay. So most of those, but I'm almost at capacity here, even though it's a small space, but that's about it. This is my upper shelf right here, and this is the last of my nursery space. And you can see in the back some pretty large, maybe I can focus in on some of them. So this is a pretty sizable cattleya right here from one of my crosses. Again, I say sizable, it's not huge, but this was a cross that was made, the actual pollination on this cross from this plant was made, I think, in just a little over a year ago, maybe, I think it's 15, 16 months ago. So this is in culture not even a year. It was in culture for maybe 7 months, 8 months before it was taken out, and now these are being acclimated. So they're growing okay. What you get out of these things is some really minimal new growth. They're doing okay. They've been under these conditions, getting this sun, this evening sun, for I think about a month. Some of these I just put out actually today. So the encyclia is on the bottom shelf I put out today. So that's it. I just wanted to show you what my nursery area looks like and how these things are growing for me. And I'm sorry, this is kind of tough to to get to and see. Maybe a little better angle from the side on this. Oh, and then there's the encyclia right here, and this is the cross on the flower that I made. It's just, got a little capsule forming. So this hopefully will produce a lot more. This is the rescue from just down the street from me. Anyway, so these are more encyclia babies from another plant right here. That most of these I just put out today, but they're going to do well along with all these ones on the top shelf here and the ones on the other side of my shed. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing my nursery. Okay, thanks for watching until the end of this video that just keeps on getting longer and longer. Sharing with you my orchid nursery. And, there's a little bit of a dilemma here because I have really a lot of orchids, a lot of seedlings, small orchids, and I need space for the orchids that I'm deflasking and bringing in to my collection. These are ones that I have many many multiples of the same cross that I've made. I have new crosses. Actually, in 2 days, I have a couple of seed capsules that are going to be ready that I need to bring into the laboratory and start those. So there's going to be more coming in, and I need to take care of these babies, these small seedlings. So I'm thinking about what to do with that. And the other thing is I'm thinking, well, it's a special time for me because it actually is I'm coming across the 1-year anniversary of my YouTube channel. So I started in June of 2021, and I have a lot of episodes, but now it's June of 2022. So it's my 1-year anniversary, so I need to do something special. So if you're interested in acquiring some of the seedlings, and these are, again, the small babies that I showed, but if you're interested in acquiring some of the seedlings from my crosses, I'm willing almost to give them away to you. So I want you to contact me and email me at the Orchid Propagator @gmail.com. I've got the address that I'm putting at the bottom of the screen, but because of my status within YouTube, that will not be a workable link. So you won't be able to click on it and take it and have it take you to the email. So you'll just have to copy down the email address, which is, I am the plant propagator, but for my orchids, I'm the orchid propagator. So please contact me at the orchidpropagator@gmail.com if you are in the United States. And what I'll do is I'll send you an email or a PDF, I haven't figured out what, of how you can acquire some of my seedlings. And they're going to be so economical that I think you should get, maybe a minimum of 5 to 10 of my seedlings. So I'll send you all of that information and how you can acquire them. Again, if you're in the U.S. only, I'm not set up to ship things outside of the U.S. But if you're in the U.S., if you've been watching my channel, I do appreciate it, and I'm willing to share with you some of my first seedlings that I brought through culture. Okay, so I don't want to give you any more information than that. All the information will be in my email response to you. I do send out plants that are these are small plants, these are babies that are carefully packed. I try to send them out on Monday. I send them out USPS for delivery in the United States. I send them out on Monday, so you'll get them sometime early to mid to hopefully not too much late week, but I'll get things sent out to you. And I'll do this as long as I can, as long as my supply lasts. And because they're so economical, if people want a lot of plants, this is not going to last very long. And then I might have to remove this video, or at least the end of the video, as a result of this. But as with all the things that I do, I try to experiment. I try to do new things, and I want to see how it goes. So let's see how it goes. And that's it for today. Happy propagating.